It was a joke. It was a joke. All right, first up then. Liverpool, the Premier League champions in Arne Slott's first season as manager after their 5-1 win over Tottenham, secured their 20th top division league title. Let's go live to Vinny O'Connor at Anfield. Very good morning to you, Vinny. The 60,000 supporters inside Anfield, thousands more outside. Love every moment of that. What's the mood like this morning? When will they get their hands on the trophy?
Well, no sign of blue flares. There's plenty of Liverpool fans in the club shop at the moment. We'll be down there a little bit later on. They're all looking to get their hands on the champions' memorabilia. And it's just been a party, hasn't it? We know the party went on around the streets of Anfield into the small hours as well. Thousands thronging the street. There were thousands greeting the Liverpool coach when it arrived. They were all in the mood to party right from the off, actually. We arrived around about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and already there were plenty of fans about the place with the champions' banners, the scarves, the shirts printed up as well, ready to party. And OK, they suffered that setback with that early goal for Spurs. But the way Liverpool responded, the way the fans responded inside Anfield told you everything about the mood on the day. They expected to get over the line yesterday. That's exactly what they did, and they made the most of it at full time as well. Those scenes inside Anfield, the noise inside Anfield was incredible once that full-time whistle had went. And then, of course, the emotion as well when we saw the players and the staff lined up in front of the Kop singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." And now it's expected that the party will continue over the remaining weeks of the Premier League season as well. I'm guessing that we'll see a few guards of honour as well for Liverpool in the remaining fixtures. They've got Chelsea away next, and of course it's Arsenal back here at Anfield, Brighton away before that final game of the season against Crystal Palace, when they will get their hands on the Premier League trophy. I know Ibrahima Konate in particular, when we spoke to him yesterday, was really looking forward to that. He was actually sat in the main stand after the game for a bit, alone with his thoughts, just taking everything in before he then spoke to us in the mix zone as well. But he also made the point that he's really looking forward to getting his hands on the Premier League trophy, getting that medal around his neck, and then of course the parade on the 26th of May as well, when again the streets of Liverpool will be packed with red and white as Liverpool really celebrate what is an amazing achievement, really, isn't it, when you consider Arne Slott's first season in English football, only the 5th head coach to win the Premier League title in his first season, the first Dutch head coach to do so as well, and building on what Jurgen Klopp had, of course, left behind. So yes, there's still a massive atmosphere around Liverpool, as I say. Plenty of fans that we will speak to a little bit later on as well, just to get their thoughts the day after what was a massive party. And that party for the players and staff at Anfield continued into the small hours as well. And there's some staff here who haven't actually been home overnight. They've been part of the clean-up operation, which tells you just the extent of the party that went on yesterday as well. So yeah, I keep saying it, massive atmosphere around Anfield, but we'll get further reaction from the fans as well throughout the day.
Vinny, thank you very much indeed. OK, that's outside Anfield. Stephen, you were inside Anfield yesterday. How do you reflect on that achievement in Arne Slott's first season as a Liverpool manager?
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. The atmosphere yesterday at the stadium was arguably one of the best atmospheres I've heard at Anfield in a long time. I thought the fans embraced the occasion. They knew that they'd missed out in the COVID season when they won the Premier League, and they were going to make the most of it yesterday, and they certainly did that. But to touch on Arne Slot and what he's actually achieved in his first season is quite brilliant. I think he inherited a magnificent squad. I think he was gracious yesterday in his sort of praise for Jurgen Klopp and what he'd been left. But he's just managed to change things, tweak things tactically, changing the pace in which they play the game, be a little bit more defensively solid in the way that they set up in games. And yeah, listen, they've undoubtedly won the Premier League deservedly, because to lose 2 games so far in the Premier League season and potentially get 94 points at the end of the season shows you how dominant they've been.
So it's, Stephen was saying he inherited a team that finished 9 points behind the champions last season. The idea was this team had run its course. They were frazzled, they were worn out. Yeah. What do you think he got right when he walked in the door? What did he change?
I think it was quite interesting at the start of the season we had to give our predictions, and I said it could be Liverpool could finish anywhere between 1st and 7th, and I said that because I thought, well, yes, they've got a very good squad that he's inherited, but also how's that transition going to be from Jurgen Klopp, who was an absolute legend, the fans really loved him, to Arne Slot? You know, how long is that going to take for him to sort of implement his style? And what he did was he didn't change too much. He tweaked things. He added that control, like what Stephen said. But you can straight away even see that he improved players. He's very honest. He's honest in his interviews. He's honest with players, and I think that certainly brought the best out of him. Yes, there's been tactical and personal tweaks. We've praised him for even his in-game management where things haven't quite gone so well in a game. He's done something that's then turned the game around. And I think one of the biggest things was at the start of the season, we were saying Liverpool needed a holding midfielder. They needed a number 6. Gravenberch in there has been absolutely outstanding, and that was something that Slot has clearly seen. Him and McAllister, brilliant combination. So individually they've been outstanding, collectively they've been outstanding, and like Stephen said, thoroughly deserved to win the Premier League. So consistent.
Yeah, for you, Stephen, which player epitomised this title-winning season?
Well, Mo Salah will get all the plaudits, but the player I've picked out this morning is the reaction of the players. And this was the reaction of Alexis McAllister right next to the bench, where he was just enjoying, embracing the moment. And I looked across and I just thought, look at the scenes where he's crying. So emotional, what it means to him. And so often people say, players play for money. They don't, they play for trophies. This is a guy who's won the World Cup and now he's won the Premier League, and you can see everything it means to him. So it was a lovely thing to capture and to see yesterday.
It's amazing, Stephen. A job as a camera operator, I think, beckons for you. That was good. Lots been made, and we saw the scenes of being in front of the Kop. I'd be a little disappointed if I had a seat in the Sir Kenny Dalglish stand down the forest, because it's all in front of the Kop, wasn't it? And the fact that it was the first time they could celebrate in front of fans for 35 years, because of course COVID was there. But how does this compare to that COVID title, this winning of the trophy?
Well, I think just listening to, some of the players that have experienced both, Andy Robertson, Mo Salah, they were speaking about, obviously it was huge winning the title then under Klopp. It had been a long period of time, but it was just the fact that they couldn't celebrate with the fans. You could see yesterday, like Stephen said, I obviously wasn't in the stadium, but you could see there, just the pure joy. And, like I say, this was, brilliant from a Liverpool perspective and Jurgen Klopp. But it's just not the same, is it, without the fans, without the atmosphere. So you could see that the fans were certainly making up for it yesterday. I
was at that stage at the ground that night when Liverpool won the title, and it was a moment when you look round and you think, this isn't right. Yeah. It's not the right way to celebrate.
Compare that to this.
Yeah. Compared to this yesterday. And what was very interesting yesterday was just towards the end of the game, the Liverpool's fans, with about 2 minutes to go, started singing, and they were very vocal. And Arne Slot turned round to his bench and he said to his staff, get up here, enjoy this, take it in and look round and make sure you enjoy these scenes, because that's what it's all about. It's making sure that you enjoy the moment with the fan group, and these are special memories that you might not get again, because we don't know when Liverpool might win a Premier League again. It's so competitive. So, to enjoy those moments yesterday for the staff, for the players, I think it meant so much more yesterday. And I still feel for the guys back in the COVID season, because they weren't able to share it with the fans.
No, and 5-1, maybe, who knows, his dad might have been impressed by that game yesterday. I mean, maybe. There's a thing. Yeah. We heard, the trademark of him this season, he's been calm, he's been... there's been no sort of nastiness coming out. He's had a lot to deal with, and even yesterday he could have taken all the accolades for himself, but what he actually did was he paid a lovely compliment back to his predecessor Jurgen Klopp, didn't he, during the celebrations. What does that say about him as a human being, Arne Slot, and his appreciation for Klopp?
Yeah, I think it just shows the class of the guy, doesn't it, and what he's all about. I think he understands the work that had been done before him, and he's just trying to continue that on and to try and add his little stamp on it. But I think also what you have to give credit to is the recruitment side of it, who went out and found Arne and said, this is the group of players that he can work with and will be able to improve, will be able to make better. One signing was made in the summer transfer window, which tells you an awful lot that what Jurgen Klopp had left behind wasn't far off being able to compete for or to win a Premier League title, because we know the season before they were 5 points clear at one point and then almost sort of gave that up and handed it over to Manchester City, which was disappointing from Liverpool's point of view. But at one point they were competing for a quadruple, so they weren't a million miles away, and he's just managed to get them over the line. But I think when you think of the way he's handled himself this year, whether it's been press conferences, he's been very honest. I think he's been a credit to the football club in the way that he's come in and done a magnificent job.
Right. Let's go to the voice of neutrality on this point.
Not sure about that.
A record equalling 20th top division league title. Does that end the debate on who is the greatest club in England now?
Well, I was listening to Gary Neville talking on this, and obviously, you know, his Manchester United side on it, and he said, well, yeah, because I think you have to look, don't you, at when you look at a successful club, of course, you look at, you know, the fan base and globally how big they are, but you also look at the trophies that they've won and how successful they've been. So, yeah, that's exactly what Liverpool will say now. So,
well, depends if you include Community Shields,
okay,
doesn't it? I mean, very important, Community Shields, because if you go just on major trophies, 52 to 47.
I think it's the Premier League, isn't it?
If you include Community Shields, it's 68 trophies each.
Well, I think it's when you look at the Premier League, that's the, you know, you've had to be consistent for a whole league.
Well, Premier League is 13 Man United, 2 Liverpool. If you include Football League titles, 20 each.
Yeah.
But then you go European Cups.
Well, Community Shield's very important. Who needs those European Cups?
Yeah.
Just for you, are you cancelling your holiday to Manchester after what you're about to say? Does that end the debate here? I have no skin in this game at all.
Don't go to Manchester anyway, Rob.
I have no skin in this game. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No, I think it does put Liverpool ahead of Manchester United. I think it's a rivalry that's been there for a long, long time now. Liverpool was streets ahead at one point. Manchester United rightly have closed that gap and went ahead. But now, when you look at Liverpool and where they are in the last few years, Liverpool are the most successful when you look at major trophies.
Community Shields, it's tied, 68 each.
But Liverpool might win another one.
Anyway, moving on. No, I have absolutely no skin. I don't care really who's better.
No.
It provides competition.
It does, that's what you want.
That's the good thing. Right, they've done it with games to spare. Celebrations rightly continue into the coming weeks. But it's almost as if you could see Slot's mind churning even when he was standing there singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" in front of the Kop ahead to next season. He's tied up Salah, Van Dijk. What happens with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and who goes? Because I was looking around a few of them and I wondered.
Yeah, there will be work to be done in the summer with the transfer window. He'll have made his mind up on players already. He'll know who he wants to leave the football club, or if bids came in, that he'd be happy for them to go. I think the work behind the scenes will have been done looking at players that they would like to sign, if available, if the right bid goes in, would it be accepted? So I think that work will have already been done behind the scenes, because I think they've known for a few weeks now that the title will have been, it's there or thereabouts. But now that it's been done, all eyes will focus on that and how to continue progressing Liverpool Football Club and making sure that they go in the right direction, not just for the next year, but the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, whatever it might be. And that will be making sure that they sign the right players. But it's not about just the right players, it's about the right players who can come with the ability to shoulder the weight of expectation. Because when you go to Liverpool, you have to compete for Premier League, Champions League, cup competitions. You have to be able to do that throughout a season, and they've got to have that right mentality to be able to do that.
Well, they always say strengthen, don't they, when you're in a strong position. So you think they're in such a strong position now. Can they strengthen? Because the other teams around them, you would say, will also strengthen and will want to bridge that gap. So it's important now, isn't it? Like, they get the recruitment right and they get the right type of characters in. But you look at the squad at the moment, it's just certain tweaks, isn't it?
I think the other thing is, well, last season, if Liverpool went in for certain players, I think there might have been a little bit of apprehension as to, I don't know what Arne Slot's going to be like. Is it a transitional sort of 3 or 4 years? Now everyone will be going, I'm going there.
Yeah.
I want to go there. So if the phone call goes in, players will be excited to go there.
Do you really never go to Manchester?
I do, really.
You're missing out on so much.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Kelly and Wrighty. Liverpool finally crowned champions of England for the 20th time. A 5-1 win against Spurs confirmed the inevitable with 4 matches to spare. Wrighty is here as always, and we're also joined by former Liverpool midfielder Danny Murphy is here, and of course Glenn Murray is with us as well. Wrighty, look, it's been a long season for Arsenal. With the Champions League, with the Champions League still to play for, can you be magnanimous in your congratulations?
Yeah, but I've always been magnanimous about Liverpool and the way they've played, the way they started the season. Everybody's talking about how easy their fixtures are, but the momentum they got from
Same
that...
fixtures as everyone else.
Absolutely, Carol. You can never, in this league as well, you can't say to a team, we'll see what happens when you start playing this team. And that when Liverpool started so well and got the momentum, and then the players, they were very fortunate with the injuries, but the players... They were players were brilliant.
But I think that we've talked about this before. This idea that they were fortunate with injuries is not necessarily a fair one.
You have to give credit to the sports science
That's one of the reasons that Arne Slot was brought in.
Yes, exactly. And so they've got all that sorted. And in the end, with me, with Liverpool, I don't dislike Liverpool. I didn't dislike Klopp. I don't dislike the fans. Obviously, I dislike the situation because we haven't won the league. But it could have happened to a nicer team, especially once they didn't do it. Didn't have the fans with the COVID. To see Liverpool fans. And like celebrating like that with like when Jurgen left, he was singing Arne Slot. That was so touching.
Yeah,
it was nice. It makes you feel good.
But we were talking earlier. If you love football as a fan or a player, it's hard not to get carried along with the emotion of that day. I mean, for me, Liverpool. For you, Kelly, it means more. It brings memories. Going with my dad when I was a kid and all that, but. Watching Newcastle win the League Cup, even though it was against Liverpool.
Remember West Ham in there when West Ham won the league?
Even yesterday, right? We were talking about the Arsenal ladies, that comeback, the smile on their faces, that amazing euphoria they felt. If you love football, that's what you're in it for.
I think when you hear Anfield in full voice yesterday when they've won it, that touches any football fan, doesn't it? Because that's ultimately what you're all after.
I think also as well, a lot of those fans, because of the COVID experience. We'll never see Liverpool win the league at Anfield.
Of course, yeah.
They've just had a day to remember for the rest of their life, because we know how football is. You don't know when the next one's coming.
Absolutely, exactly.
You don't.
So the last time Liverpool won the league at Anfield, not the last time they won the league, because obviously they won it in when it was the second half of that season, was when Chelsea beat Manchester City. In 1990, when they won it previously, they won it away from home, and then the time they won it at Anfield was a win against Spurs as well.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those little bookends that you sometimes get.
Yeah, it is, and also it says if try and get Spurs at the latter end of your season if you're going for the cup, because going for the Premier League, because there's a good chance you might do it. But
well, you tell me North London derbies are difficult. So.
They are difficult, but what can I say? If you're playing Spurs at that stage of the season, Liverpool going for it and Spurs out of everything. I'm not saying that game would have made any difference at any stage of the Premier League, but I do believe, so all jokes aside, that Liverpool have been. By far, for me, the best team and most consistent team in the league. Their top man in Salah was brilliant this season. It's going to be interesting to see who wins the Player of the Season, but brilliant. Virgil led by example. Gravenberch, the way Gravenberch came at the start of the season, played in that holding kind of deep defensive.
Right,
just
that was
worked
a
out.
masterstroke from the man.
Honestly, because they would remember Zubimendi.
Yeah,
all the talk.
everyone was disappointed when Zubimendi didn't sign. People like Endo, and Jurgen liked Endo, but Gravenberch came as an attacking midfielder, and that's where Jurgen played. Didn't play that much last season.
No.
Now, he obviously knew him from the time in Ajax a couple of years before, where he did play deeper. And that's Slot's knowledge. But not only that, it's the risk of putting him in there, especially in the Premier League. It's a difficult position to play. And him failing in it. with the microscope on him, because he only had Endo as backup. He decided, I trust this lad.
Yeah.
And he's grown in confidence. But he's done lots of little things, hasn't he, that have made...
But he's made players better.
Yeah, he has.
He's brought more out of Gravenberch.
Yep.
Yeah.
More out of
McAllister was brilliant as well.
McAllister has been outstanding.
No, you're right.
For me personally, but when you look at Liverpool right through that spine, goalkeeper, centre backs, they've got a settled centre back partnership that they've had all year. They haven't had that for a couple of years. You look at that midfield three; it's got a nice balance. But what I like, what he's done for me personally, is that I think a lot of managers go into football clubs and they want to rip it all up and they want to do it their way, and that's your ego getting the better of you. Where he hasn't, he inherited a really good. He took those best bits and just tweaked it tiny.
Well, this is the thing. It was a really good squad, but you lose, and just to put that into context, the point that you were making there, Glenn, is you lose a manager who has that sort of presence that Jurgen Klopp does, and you expect there's going to be a transition. From the last time Liverpool won the league, there's been a wholesale changes within the squad as well, including breaking up that front three of only whom Mohamed Salah remains. There's also been big changes at board level as well. Michael Edwards went away and then was replaced and then has come back, and then there's a whole new director of football in there. Very few clubs managed to weather that many changes and win a title in both eras.
Yeah, I think that's why, when people went on about the contracts, even the contracts with the three players, Trent, Virgil and Mo Salah, even that didn't derail them in any way. They even dealt with that really smoothly. And obviously you have to look at FSG and think to yourself, how is that happening? But at the same time, for that to be happening at management level, things to be moving around, and it doesn't affect the team at all. There's no noise coming out of that dressing room. They were trying with Trent, they were trying with Virgil and Salah. No noise came out. They just stayed focused. And, they got the job done.
That's down to Arne Slot as well. He's the one that's getting peppered week in, week out by the press, isn't he? And he handled that so well. To keep those players on board and to keep that squad together, even though there was a lot of, I suppose, uncertainty around it, I think it's a masterstroke.
Unbelievable, Kev.
The point that you made about the smooth transition from Jurgen Klopp to Arne Slot was kind of shown in the way that, as you said, Jurgen Klopp started the singing for Arne Slot at the end of last season on his final day in charge of Liverpool. And Arne Slot returned the compliment at Anfield yesterday.
I don't think I want to say a lot. The only thing I can do now is send my appreciation to Jurgen. So there we go. Jurgen Klopp! Ja, la, 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 la. Jurgen Klopp. Ja, la, 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 la. Jurgen.
That's awesome.
There's two things with that. One is that the players seem very relaxed about him, or are very brave because it's it's done now. But also that transition, it has been really important. And he also said he's been talking on and off to Jurgen Klopp at times this season.
I think it's important that we appreciate both aspects of it. I've heard a narrative this morning, even driving in, people trying to go, well, it's Klopp's team or it's all about Slot. Klopp's left a really strong squad with great mentality, a winning mentality, if you like. But what Slot's come in and done as well, he's improved players, like you said. He's tweaked little things. They're a bit more measured now in terms of possession, managing games. Even little things like, I mean, you two as strikers, but I was a bit like that when he threw Diaz up there for a while because Jota was injured.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, give Darwin a run. But he obviously doesn't fancy him. Diaz has now scored more goals this season than any other. Arguably, I know Salah's been the main man, but he's been the next one.
Yeah.
I didn't see him as a striker.
No, but
little tweaks.
Yeah. Just, and the thing is that it's the kind of tweaks as well, Glenn, where he's not a striker, but he'll go in there and he will do the job for him. That's what he trusted him to do, and he's done it. Like I say, I think that going back to the when Jurgen Klopp done the singing last time, everybody was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But now it's turning.
It could have looked very different at the end of this season if it
really
hadn't gone as well as it has done for Liverpool.
It's very magnanimous of him in his moment. Like you said, he speaks to him and he spoke to him during the season. In his moment of joy, he's making sure everybody realises that Jurgen Klopp is a massive part of what's happening.
And it's Danny's point as well, which is that it's not one thing or the other. It's not Jurgen Klopp's squad or Arne Slot's management. And they're very comfortable with that kind of balance of praise.
And rightly so, because it keeps harmony. But I tell you what, I don't know if you remember early in the season, Man United away game, Slot came out and spoke about the plan on how they were going to beat Man U, which you could argue, looking back now, any plan would beat Man U. But let's not go there.
Yes.
the way he spoke and articulated it concisely and calmly and charismatically, I thought to myself, oh, he knows what he's doing, this fella. Because it's hard in the early stages to think, are Liverpool that good or is it just a good run? But the way he's conducted himself and the way he's been calmly just putting out the right thing, like even with the contract. So I think it's both, I think it's silly to go one way or the other.
Calm, other than at the end of the derby, where Everton got that late equaliser. But I was listening to a lot of sort of fan reaction and fans kind of summing up the way this season's gone. And there was a general consensus that actually that game and that reaction was appropriate for them. They were like, we want you to feel like this about a derby. We want you to understand what this is like. If you're going to lose your temper across the course of a season, do it in that game. That feels reasonable to us.
You know what you have to really also commend with Liverpool is that it's a new manager. He's come in. It's a massive club. No one was expecting him to do what he's done, right? So you'd have thought that it's the kind of place where...
I think they had a less than 5% chance, according to Opta, of winning the league at the start of the season.
So then you look at the players, what he's got there. Even the players, I know the start was with people saying it was easy. Even the players, it could have been very easy for those players at some stage to say, we can have a season off because it's the new manager, he's going to get us out, he's going to get his new players in. He didn't do anything like that. He actually kept the players, and like you said, Danny, tweaked this, tweaked that. Graham Birch came in, moved Diaz in, doing all that stuff, and the team are even more together. They're just as together as you see with a Klopp team.
What's even more impressive about it is brought no one in. No reinforcements in January.
Well, Chiesa, but he hasn't used it.
He hasn't used Chiesa,
No one that's really stepped
Wright
into a first 11 role. So, to do that with the same group of players and to get more out of them effectively.
Well, I think, I keep bringing up these little things because they're coming to me as we speak, but I'm a big fan of Curtis Jones, but we've seen him playing much more advanced roles this season, something he saw as a coach. And you've got to have your own ideas, but there's so much to admire about what he's done so far. The key to any club moving forward and maintaining success is recruitment, even though they didn't get anyone last summer. So it's going to be fascinating now to see what he does. The great thing is they're not having to fill those two big holes, at centre-back and right wing, because now you can prioritise other areas of the pitch.
Honestly, Kels, can you imagine, even if you brought in somebody, if Salah went or Verge went, you can feel it. Can you imagine standing in front of the Kop doing that? What it means to them, it must be amazing. It must be amazing.
He said he's going to be very emotional, Virgil van Dijk, when he lifts the trophy, because obviously that won't be given until the last day of the season. And although the celebrations continued at Anfield, they will not get their hands on the trophy until that game against Crystal Palace on the last day of the season. Virgil van Dijk has talked about this moment and how he feels it's going to go.
It would be amazing, very emotional. I think even today, for me and my family, because I think the whole week was quite slow. It takes ages before match day. I think every Liverpool fan around the world probably felt like that. And then obviously it's match day, and then you see so many fans already in red, outside, getting ready from early on. And you just want to get the job done. And I'm very, very happy that we did. And when the moment is there that I can lift the trophy in front of our beautiful supporters, then I think I will be very emotional.
Yeah, it's going to be very emotional. Even Mr. Cool may lose his cool at that moment.
It'd be great to see, because then people will see what it's about, because you look at Virgil van Dijk, I get Marlon Brando vibes in respect of how cool and calm he is and how vulnerable and at the same time macho he is. But it shows what it means to him. Since Virgil van Dijk's come to Liverpool, remember all that time before, he's talking about the goalkeeper, talking about getting that centre-back, what they needed. It didn't happen, then it did happen for him.
We need a Dutch lip reader for this, by the way.
And then he's come in, Kel, and since Virgil, he's changed everything, the trajectory of Liverpool football.
He's in the conversation as one of Liverpool's greatest ever signings, probably with your dad.
Without a doubt.
Stevie was already there. He has made, the impact he's made on that club is absolutely phenomenal. The biggest compliment you can, when he wasn't, that season when he done his knee, how bad they were without him. Shows. He was the worry for me if he left in the summer. It's massive, great. Yeah. He's the biggest signing for me.
But we've got to talk about Salah as well. I mean, for me, we witness greatness.
Oh, he's amazing.
The numbers he puts out week in, week out. 90 minutes a week. So robust. He's only a slight fella. Never gets injured. Always on the money. I just think he doesn't get what he deserves. The credit he deserves.
I think we're spoilt with him.
Yeah.
Because he's done it for so long.
So expectant.
We're expecting to see the greatness all the time. But even Kel's doing an interview where he's saying, listen, I don't play great in all the games, but I know and recognise the moments and when I can have a moment. And I just want to make sure that I am ready for the moment, which is, again, the experience of a striker that knows he's ready to go when it matters.
He's already broken the record for most goal involvements across a season, so goals and assists combined for a 38-game season. He's one goal or assist away from breaking the record for the next one. But it's partially because he defines himself as a winger. I imagine that he's kind of measuring himself by that sort of combined metric. But the one thing that he did say that I thought you two in particular, Glenn and Ian, would appreciate is that he said, well, the thing that Arne Slot's done is, if you relieve me of my defensive duties, then I can perform better offensively. I'll give you more offensively. And gone. And then at the end of this season, gone, and there are the numbers.
That's always the conversation, isn't it, right?
But the thing is, you always, even if you don't say it to a manager, you are always trying to find a way to not do defensive work. Honestly, you don't want the blame of you didn't track it. If you tracked him there for 5 yards, he wouldn't go there. But if you're Salah and you can get that, the manager says, OK, then go and do it, but make sure you bring the... He's brought the numbers.
Yeah.
He's been magnificent. And you could see the way he is, Kels. You said rightly as well. No injuries. He looks like somebody that's such good shape. So you can probably see, with Liverpool adding more people to that, more players to that, he'd probably still do what he's doing.
Who makes them better?
Who makes them better? Wow.
I think left striker.
Because obviously, I think Kirk has, if that's the thing, I don't want to take players out of teams, but I think a left back probably, but you're right. I think Nunes.
I think the Franswich.
They need that kind of striker. Yeah, they need a striker who can do it. Yeah.
He doesn't fancy Darwin, Whether love him or loathe him, the fact is, he's had many opportunities, but he doesn't fancy him.
Yeah.
Well, he had an opportunity in the game yesterday when it was very comfortable for Liverpool, and he was through on goal, and he could have shot but passed, and then it came back to him, and he should have passed but shot, and it just all.
His Liverpool career up, really, doesn't it?
Thank you, exactly. And the thing is, what he should have done. I remember doing analysis on him right at the start, and you see him pace, he can spring, he's got. You know what I mean? Finish with both feet. Yeah. You think, it's only going to be a matter of time once it clicks, and then he's doing the same things, and to this point where now you probably have to move him on because he's not going to get it by the looks of things.
I don't think any fan will ever doubt his effort and commitment. Ultimately, right, Glenn, the reality is with goal scoring. I know we've had chats with Gary about it in the past. I think you've either got it or you haven't, and he just hasn't got that natural.
But even when you look at Liverpool's season. He had it when they needed it. Brentford away.
He's come up with some big goals.
Forest.
Yeah.
And but I think when you're paying that kind of money, it's not for a substitute. You're paying that kind of money for somebody who's on there doing it, Glenn. I know he's, like you rightly said, Liverpool fans will love him forever. He will be loved forever, but he's somebody that if he could have clicked and gone to that next level of taking those chances, we're talking about easy chances as well. Yeah. We're not talking chances. And I saw him score 2 goals against Newcastle, might have been last season. And I thought,
that was his best game.
Right, this is it. And then, it goes back to normal. But, again, Liverpool need that person. It's like Torres or Suarez. They need that to go alongside, something like that.
But as you said, they love him, but they love him for what he is, knowing what he can do and what his weaknesses are. Salah and Van Dijk, they love because of what they can do and what they deliver on. And the other player is one who you've already mentioned, Glenn, which is Alexis McAllister, who is a huge fan favourite in terms of what he brings to the game. And they like his name at Anfield yesterday was sung, which probably asked the midfielder about it, but was sung, as loudly as anyone else's.
I feel as though knit it together. He's one of those that you don't always notice, but he makes everyone around him better. And he's come up with some brilliant moments, some brilliant goals. And I seen a little clip on socials of him on the bench because he got brought off, didn't he? And he's won the World Cup. He's won the biggest trophy in the world, and he won the Premier League. And he kind of just pulled the towel over his head. Everyone else ran the pitch, and he just had a moment. Yeah. So that just shows what it means to him.
The lads love him as well, I've heard. I know a couple of the staff at Liverpool, and they rate. When people overly speak of someone, how lovely he is. But the great thing about him is he's obviously technically brilliant. But I'm not sure people... Well, if you watch Liverpool enough, you'll see it. But for someone not physically brilliant in terms of his speed or his size, he does a brilliant defensive job. You know?
Yeah.
Is he a live player rather than a highlights player, or like he's not necessarily always the man in the centre of the screen?
I think so.
When I was with him at Brighton, he would spend a bit of time out, and I would always think, I'd look at his stats and I'd think, surely, like I can't see what you bring. Do you know what I mean? Even though when he's got the ball, dictates play, no problem at all. But he has got that like that kind of Argentinian element, that little bit of nastiness that you need just in the middle of the park.
You know when Endo, remember when Endo had that little spell in the team alongside McAllister? I thought McAllister got even better then. And I think that now with Gravenberch as well, I like where McAllister is, where he can be in that position, especially if the ball comes, he'll just smash it back in. He's got the capability to clip one over the top to you. He's one of those midfield players, Dan, like yourself, who've got the capability of when it's in close proximity, you can get the ball into those little plays. He can do that. Yeah, he can do that.
He is.
In those places of the pitch, Kels, that last third.
Yeah. And he's been crucial for Liverpool, and we haven't even mentioned the goalkeeper. He missed a large part of the season through injury. Praveen Kelleher came in and replaced him. And it was almost as though the injury to Alisson had been forgotten because Kelleher did so well, but he is another level.
Yeah, but Kels, again, Liverpool have got a goalkeeper that's come in and done the job. So it was seamless, to the point where people weren't even talking about Alisson when he's seamless. Again, brilliant.
Could I just say with the strikers, because it's always interesting for me, because goalkeeper's not my expertise, but as strikers going in on keepers, it feels like he's the best I've seen.
He's big, he stays big.
At one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Because Schmeichel used to be good at it, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he used to do that thing. Yeah, he used to do that thing where he done the cross. I remember when seeing Zola just.
Alisson seems to stay.
He stays massive.
Yeah.
He stays massive. Sometimes you see goals being scored and you think, I can see space. When you're running for, you can't see space. Yeah. And that's what they do because these angles are so good. And that's what because you're looking to get it past him as quick as you can. But the closer you're getting, the smaller the goal behind him is. And the bigger he's looking in front of you.
He seems to revel in that moment more than a striker. It's usually a striker's moment, a 1v1. It's your chance to score a goal, but he seems just as calm in it, doesn't he? And the way he just comes out, swats it away. For me, he's the best in the Premier League. And he's in the conversation best in the world. Yeah.
So who improves Liverpool? We touched on this a little bit earlier on. What do they do? What do they need over the summer? Because there have been conversations that this is not a vintage Premier League winning side, and yet Liverpool are further ahead on points than Manchester City were at this stage last season. Even if City had won their game in hand, and that it's not their responsibility to make sure that there isn't a 15-point gap to second place.
Some will depend.
But there's still been conversations that they need to strengthen.
Yeah, they do. Some of it will depend on who goes. So Diaz is 28, 29. If a big fee come in, they might. There's talk of that. Jota's injured a lot. Yeah. But they definitely need a striker because Darwin's going to go. I think Wright is right in the full-back area, and I think a centre-half.
I think a backup.
And what about? There's obviously a situation with Konate. He's only got a year left. So what they need two.
It depends if Gomez stays or Kwanzaa, but they need a more senior one, a more reliable.
Dan, do you think that if they're going to get one of those to stay, it'd probably be Kwanzaa, and then you get one that's maybe a little bit more experienced than Kwanzaa who's waiting, so that Kwanzaa can still continue to develop. Yeah. But at the same time, you look at it and you think, Konate, I believe, will stay. I believe Konate will stay with Brett, and then they'll bring another centre-half in. Yeah. You know what I mean? Obviously,
you've got right back.
Yeah, well, the thing with
likely to leave.
So then they might need another one there, maybe a backup for Connor or something.
The thing is, the way Slot's talking, it sounds like Conor Bradley's going to be given but they need some competition in that area. Yeah. That means to me that they'll go left back, centre forward. Midfield's probably the strongest area.
I think so, yeah. I think
so. One of the great moments from yesterday that we just caught a little bit of. He did it twice. He took all season. Mo Salah has taken pictures for his Instagram and his social media of a selfie with him and the goal scorer. So he got that on the pitch yesterday. But when he scored his goal, he took a phone off somebody. Did you see that? He took the phone off somebody in the crowd and took a selfie with the whole of the Kop behind him. And then later on, as we saw there, he took a selfie with him and the players, with the Kop behind them as well.
I missed a lot doing the semi-finals yesterday.
Because everybody... All the little details, isn't it?
Where I was, everybody was talking about the Liverpool game. I felt I was missing out.
But do you know what? On occasions like that, it is the little details that make, and there is. That's the one after Mo Salah's goal where he took the
Do you think
picture.
he's looked... this ain't a dig at Jurgen, He looks happier this season. He's
been relieved of his defensive duties.
No, but he does. Body language and energy, and even when he misses chances, he's not.
He's been very charming in interviews as well, and sort of laughing and joking.
He did. No, it's not done. At the end of the day, it's whatever happened to him and Jurgen's relationship at the end. You have to think that the manager of that level and a player of that level, there might have been some clashes, but at the same time, he does look happier. And a lot of it will come down to the fact that he's been relieved of those kind of responsibilities. But then again, he's saying, relieve me of those because I want to go and do this. And he's done it.
Danny, you've been going to Liverpool since you were a kid. Yesterday was like... No, I was at Anfield yesterday. It was like nothing I've seen in decades at the ground. From 10 o'clock in the morning, ahead of a 4:30 UK kickoff in that game, it was incredible. Fans were queuing. They closed the roads off 4 and 5 hours before kickoff. It was just absolutely mobbed. There were flares, there were fireworks, even though it was the middle of the day and you couldn't see them. And Arne Slot, talked about this. I was just over to the left-hand side on a little balcony filming this, and you couldn't see the road. All you could see was the smoke getting darker and darker red as the flares were lit, as the players came along. And it was just an incredible moment.
Coming into that atmosphere?
You're not going to lose. I can honestly say, I've been very lucky as a young lad seeing Liverpool win a league at Anfield. I've seen cup finals and I've played in, 4, where outside, Dortmund was ridiculous, down at Millennium 3 times, but I've never seen anything like that. The only thing compared that to maybe out in Madrid, that was... in the European Cup final, but that was a special.
Can I go one? Like you're talking about like Argentina with Boca Juniors, and River Plate. When you're coming in, that's the energy. Yeah. That's the energy I saw from that.
Yeah, it's a smaller city and it's a sort of tighter enclosure. But the Liverpool fans turned out in their thousands for that one, and it made Arne Slot emotional.
The only moment I was emotional today was when we arrived at the stadium. To see what it meant for the fans, what it meant for these people. For us to have a chance of winning it felt really special, but immediately it also felt like, we still have to do it. But I think everybody who was inside that bus felt if the fans are with us like they are, then it's impossible for us to lose this game of football. And then during the game, after the game, it's been incredible how the support of the fans were and how our players played, and special to be part of.
A fan's word, last, Danny. You've talked about it as an analyst, as an ex-player, as someone who's been part of the club. Just from a fan's perspective, what does that title mean?
Well, I think it means so much to those who've not had the privileges of some of us. That creating a memory for life and following your team around the country to have those wonderful moments and experiences with 60, 70,000 other fans. And I think for those Liverpool fans who have seen so much success, it's probably triggered a lot of memories of years gone by and created those wonderful moments. That's what it did for me. I actually, when I saw these celebrations, I didn't go to the football times when I've been lucky enough on that front. I went back to me and my dad. Because he's not here anymore. I know I get a bit emotional about it, but that's where it took me. And I think that must happen to everyone. Yeah. Because you start with your dad or your brother or your mum, whoever it is that takes you to the game. And that's where it took me. Honestly, I really was. I'm jealous of you.
Yeah. It was a very, very special moment. Like you said, there was that real marriage of nostalgia and optimism for the future as well, taking the history with them and moving on, they will hope, to further success. But Liverpool are the Premier League champions. After the break, we're going to focus on this
morning, fresh from seeing the flair of a title-winning triumph at Anfield, Stephen Warnock, and fresh from selling dodgy blue flares in Stanley Park, Stu Smith.